They exiled me for saving a life. Not just any life. An Omega child. Born wrong, the council said. Cursed. Better to let nature take its course than waste blood magic keeping such a creature alive. I saved her anyway. Used the forbidden healing. The kind that required my own blood. My own life force. The ancient magic the crown had declared too dangerous for common use. The child lived. I was cast out. Rowan Bloodthorn, Alpha King Caius had said, his voice cold as winter death, you are hereby exiled from the Crimson Veil Pack for the crime of unauthorized blood magic. You have 1 hour to leave our territory. If you return, you will be executed. I'd looked him in the eyes, those golden eyes that held no mercy, no compassion, no hint of the man I'd once thought I knew, and said, you'll regret this. He'd laughed. I doubt that. That was 3 years ago. Now he was dying, and I was the only one who could save him. The irony was almost poetic. Chapter 1. The Summons. The messenger arrived at my cottage at dawn, royal colors, royal seal, trembling hands that suggested he'd drawn the short straw for this particular assignment. The Alpha King requests your presence, he said. Didn't quite meet my eyes. Immediately, it's urgent. Requests? I sipped my tea. Let him stand in the doorway while cold morning air flooded my warm cottage. Interesting choice of words. My lady. I'm not my lady anymore. Your king made that very clear when he exiled me for saving a child. I set down my cup. What does he want? He's dying. The messenger's voice cracked. Plague of the lungs. The royal healers can't stop it. They said you're the only one with the skill. The only one who knows the old blood magic. The forbidden blood magic, you mean? The kind that got me exiled. Please. He fell to his knees. The kingdom needs its king. Without him, you'll find another king. I turned away. My answer is no. He'll pay anything, whatever you ask. Name your price. I paused, looked at this messenger. This boy who couldn't be more than 20, who'd probably never questioned an order in his life. Who thought begging would move me? Tell your king, I said slowly, that my price is this. Public restoration of my name. Full reinstatement to the royal healing halls. A formal apology from every council member who voted for my exile. And 300,000 gold crowns. The messenger's jaw dropped. 300,000, that's a king's ransom. Yes, I smiled. I'm aware, those are my terms. Non-negotiable. The council will never. Then I suppose your king will die. I moved to close the door. Good day. Wait. He scrambled to his feet. I'll deliver your message, but please. He's suffering. He can barely breathe. If you could just... My terms. I met his eyes. All of them. Or nothing. He left. I went back to my tea and tried to ignore the small, treacherous part of my heart that remembered golden eyes and a smile that could light up a room. That was before the exile. Before the cruelty. Before I learned that kings chose crowns over conscience. 3 hours later, the council arrived. Want to see what happens when the exiled healer names her price to the men who destroyed her? Or want to know why the council is so desperate they'd actually come here? Stay with me, because this confrontation is about to expose every lie they've told. Chapter 2. The Council. They rode up in full ceremonial regalia. 7 council members. Each one older than dirt. Each one dripping with jewels and self-importance. Each one having voted unanimously for my exile 3 years ago, without a single moment of hesitation. Chancellor Marcus led them, gray-bearded, pompous. The man who'd called me dangerously reckless and a threat to pack stability during my trial. The man who'd suggested my exile would set a proper example for other healers who might consider putting conscience over protocol. I met them at the door, didn't invite them in. made them stand in the cold morning air like common supplicants. "Rowan Bloodthorn," Marcus said, his voice dripping with false civility, the kind of politeness that barely masked contempt. "We've received your demands." "My price," I corrected, "for my services as the kingdom's last hope." 300,000 gold crowns is extortion, robbery, highway banditry dressed up as medical fees. It's the going rate for miracle workers. I leaned against the doorframe, casual, unbothered. "Supply and demand, Chancellor. I'm the only supply. You have all the demand. Economics 101. "This is absurd." Another council member, Lord Garrett, stepped forward, red-faced, sputtering. "No healer is worth a king's ransom. You're an Omega, an exile. You should be grateful we're even acknowledging you exist." The other council members murmured agreement. Smug, certain. They actually thought they could intimidate me. "Then find another healer," I said pleasantly. "I hear there are some very competent practitioners in the capital." "Oh wait, they already tried to save your king, didn't they? And failed spectacularly." Lord Garrett's face went from red to purple. "How dare you? How dare I what? Know my worth? Demand fair payment? Refuse to be bullied by the same people who destroyed my reputation and livelihood 3 years ago?" I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "I learned a lot in exile, Lord Garrett, including the fact that I don't owe you anything, especially not free labor." "The king is dying." Lady Helena stepped forward. She'd been marginally less cruel during my trial. Marginally. "Surely you don't want his death on your conscience." "My conscience is crystal clear. I save those who deserve saving. Your king made his choice 3 years ago when he exiled me for doing exactly what you're now begging me to do. That was entirely different, was it?" I looked at each council member in turn. Let them see the anger I'd been nursing for 3 years. "A child was dying. I saved her using blood magic. The same blood magic you're now begging me to use on your king. I used my own blood, my own life force, risked my own health to save an Omega child her parents had abandoned." I stepped forward. "And you exiled me for it. Called me reckless, dangerous. Said I was setting a bad precedent by wasting valuable resources on unsuitable cases. Those were your exact words, Lord Garrett. I remember them very clearly." Lord Garrett had the grace to look uncomfortable. "The only difference between then and now," I continued, "is that the child was an Omega nobody cared about, and Caius is an Alpha you can't afford to lose. The only difference is who you value." Marcus's face went red. "The king exiled you for breaking the law, for using forbidden magic without authorization. That child's parents should have been consulted. The child's parents abandoned her to die." My voice went cold. They brought her to the healing halls, saw what saving her would cost, and decided she wasn't worth it. Decided their coin was more valuable than their daughter's life, so I made the choice for them. And paid the price for your arrogance. No. I stepped forward, met Marcus's eyes without flinching. I paid the price for having a conscience, for valuing life over gold, for refusing to let a child die because her parents were too cheap and her condition was too unsuitable for proper healing. I smiled without humor. "But now you want me to save someone, and suddenly the price doesn't matter. Suddenly blood magic isn't forbidden anymore. Suddenly I'm not dangerous or reckless or a threat. Suddenly I'm the kingdom's last hope, and you're standing on my doorstep begging." The council members shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't going the way they'd planned. Marcus drew himself up, trying to regain authority. "Your terms are completely unacceptable. 300,000 gold crowns would bankrupt the royal coffers. We can offer half that amount, 150,000, and conditional reinstatement to the healing halls, pending satisfactory review of your conduct." I laughed. This actually threw my head back and laughed. "Half the price for saving your king's life? Conditional reinstatement after you destroyed everything I built?" I shook my head. "My terms stand. All of them. Every single gold crown. Every public apology. full restoration with no conditions. Or nothing. You're condemning the king to death over money? No. I'm demanding fair payment for my services, fair acknowledgement of my skills, fair restitution for 3 years of exile. I looked at each of them. You're the ones who taught me that everything has a price, that lives can be measured in gold, that saving someone is only worthwhile if they're valuable enough to justify the expense. I let the words sink in. So tell me, Council, is your king worth 300,000 gold crowns? Is he valuable enough? Does he justify the expense? Or should I let nature take its course, just like you told me to do with that Omega child? The silence that followed was so thick you could cut it with a knife. This is blackmail, Marcus hissed. Extortion. We could have you arrested. For what? Naming my price? Last I checked, healers were allowed to charge for their services. I shrugged. If you don't want to pay, don't pay. But then don't blame me when your king dies. You heartless? I'm heartless? My voice went sharp. I saved a child you deemed worthless. I risked my own life to heal someone you'd already written off. And you exiled me for it. You destroyed my reputation. You made sure no pack would hire me. You tried to ensure I'd starve to death in these unclaimed lands. I leaned forward. So yes, I'm heartless. I learned from the best. Lady Helena stepped forward. Please, Rowan. We're sorry. Truly. What happened to you was unfortunate. But the king is dying. Surely you can find it in yourself to show mercy. Mercy? I looked at her. Did you show me mercy when I begged you to reconsider my exile? Did you show that Omega child mercy when her parents wanted to let her die? Did you show mercy to any of the people you've deemed unsuitable for healing over the years? Silence. My terms stand, I said quietly. You have until sunset. After that, my price goes up. Up? To 400,000 gold crowns, plus 10% interest for every day you make me wait after that. I smiled. I learned a lot in exile, Chancellor Marcus, including the value of my own skills, including the fact that irreplaceable expertise deserves irreplaceable compensation. I stepped back toward my door. You taught me that everything has a price. Now you get to pay mine. I closed the door in their faces and listened to them argue on my doorstep. Listened to them rage and curse, and ultimately realized they had no power here. For the first time in 3 years, I was the one with leverage, and I was going to use every bit of it, and tried to ignore the part of me that wondered if Caius was suffering, if he was afraid, if he regretted what he'd done. Then I remembered the coldness in his eyes as he'd sentenced me, the way he hadn't even hesitated, the way he'd chosen his council's approval over defending me. My price stood. Think the council will pay. Think they'll actually apologize to the woman they destroyed? Wait until you see what happens when they return to the king with her demands. Wait until you discover why Caius really exiled her. Stay with me. The truth is coming, and it changes everything. Chapter 3, The King's Desperation. They came back at sunset, but not the council. Just one man, being carried on a stretcher by 4 guards, Alpha King Caius himself. I stepped outside, stared at the figure struggling to breathe beneath royal blankets. He looked terrible, pale, sweating, his chest rising and falling in shallow, labored gasps. The plague marks, dark veins spreading from his lungs, visible through his thin sleep shirt. He was dying. Probably had days at most, and he'd come here, to my exile cottage, to beg. Rowan! His voice was barely a whisper, destroyed by the plague ravaging his lungs. Please. The guard set the stretcher down, stepped back, left us alone. Caius tried to sit up, failed, lay there gasping. The council, he managed, said you want 300,000 gold, said you want... A coughing fit cut him off. Blood flecked his lips. I should have felt satisfaction, vindication, some sense of justice. Instead, I felt the mate bond I'd been ignoring for 3 years suddenly flare to life. Because of course he was my mate. Of course the moon had that cruel of a sense of humor. We'd never acknowledged it, never spoken of it. But we'd both felt it. 3 years ago, before the exile. Before everything went wrong. And he'd chosen his throne over me anyway. My terms stand, I said quietly. All of them. The council. More coughing. More blood. Won't pay. Won't apologize. They said to let me die. That they'll find another king. Shock rippled through me. They said what? That I'm not worth bankrupting the kingdom for. That a new king can be chosen. That your price is too high. His eyes found mine. Golden. Desperate. Please, I'll pay it myself. My personal fortune. It's not quite 300,000, but they told you to die. I couldn't process this. Your own council. They're practical. Always have been. He tried to smile. It came out as a grimace. A king's ransom. That's what you asked for. And they've decided I'm not worth a king's ransom. He pushed himself up. Swayed. Nearly fell. Then did something I'd never seen an Alpha King do. He dropped to his knees. Right there in the dirt of my garden. The most powerful wolf in 3 territories. Kneeling before the exile he'd cast out. Please, he whispered. I'm begging you. Save me. I'll give you everything I have. Everything I am. Just please. Caius, he bent forward, pressed his forehead to my boots. The Alpha King, in the dirt, begging. I was wrong, he said, his voice breaking. 3 years ago, I was wrong. I should have defended you. Should have stood against the council. Should have chosen you over the throne. Tears fell onto my shoes, but I was afraid. Afraid of losing their support. Afraid of looking weak. Afraid of... He stopped. Swallowed. Afraid of what it would mean to put someone before the crown. He looked up at me. Tears streaming down his face. You're my mate. I've known since the day we met. And I threw you away to keep my council happy. And now I'm dying. And you're the only one who can save me. And I have no right to ask. No right to beg. But I'm asking anyway. He fumbled at his neck, removed the golden chain that held the royal seal, the symbol of his authority, his power, his crown. He set it in the dirt at my feet. I'll give you my throne if that's what it takes. I'll abdicate. I'll walk away from everything. Just please. His breath hitched. Please don't let me die, knowing I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. The mate bond was screaming now, demanding I save him, demanding I forgive, demanding I acknowledge what we both knew. I looked at this man, this king, this mate who'd chosen wrong and was paying for it. And I made my choice. Get up, I said quietly. Rowan. Get up, Caius. You're not dying tonight. Chapter 4. The healing, I brought him inside. The guards tried to follow. I shut the door in their faces. You need help. I need space. Stay outside. I'll call if I need you. I set Caius on my healing table, the one I'd built in exile, the one I'd used to heal the people the royal healers wouldn't treat. This is going to hurt, I warned. I don't care. His golden eyes held mine. Do what you need to do. I mixed the herbs, lit the ceremonial candles, drew the blood magic circles on the floor in chalk and ash. Then I cut my palm. Let my blood, red and thick and shimmering with ancient power, drip into the prepared bowl. Blood magic requires a bond, I said. A connection between healer and patient. Usually kinship. Sometimes deep friendship. Or mate bond, Caius whispered. Or mate bond. I met his eyes. This is going to link us, permanently. You'll feel everything I feel. I'll feel everything you feel. There's no undoing it. I know. You'll be tied to the exile you cast out. The woman your council hates. The mate you rejected. I never rejected you." His hand found mine. "I was too afraid to claim you. That's different. And I've regretted it every day since." I wanted to argue, to throw his cowardice in his face, to make him hurt the way I'd hurt. But he was dying, and I'd never been able to let someone die when I could save them, even if that someone had broken my heart. I drank half the blood magic mixture, handed him the rest. "Drink," he did, without hesitation, without fear. The bond snapped into place. Not the mate bond. That had always been there, ignored and unacknowledged. The healing bond. The soul-deep connection that would let me draw the plague from his lungs into my own body. Filter it through my blood magic. Destroy it with my life force. It would take hours, maybe days, and it would hurt us both. I placed my hand on his chest, felt the plague marks pulsing beneath his skin. "Ready?" I asked. "Yes." I pulled. The plague resisted, clung to him, didn't want to leave its host. I pulled harder, used the mate bond as an anchor, used the healing bond as a channel, used my own blood to burn away the corruption. Caius screamed. I gritted my teeth, kept pulling. The plague shifted, started moving from his lungs to mine. I felt it enter my body, felt it try to take root, felt my blood magic rise to fight it. Hours passed. The candles burned down. The chalk circles glowed with power. Caius's breathing eased. The plague marks faded from his chest and appeared on mine. By dawn, it was done. The plague was gone from him, destroyed by my blood, filtered through my magic, burned away by my life force. I collapsed beside the healing table. Caius sat up, took a full, deep breath for the first time in weeks. Then he saw me, saw the plague marks on my chest, saw me sweating and shaking and barely conscious. "No." He dropped to the floor beside me. "No, Rowan, what did you—" "Saved you," I managed. "That's what you paid for. Not like this. Not by taking it into yourself. Only way." I closed my eyes. "Blood magic requires exchange. I filter plague through my body. My magic destroys it, but takes time. A few days. You're dying. Healing. Different." I tried to smile. "Done this before. I'll be fine." He pulled me into his arms. "I'm not leaving you. Council will be angry, king neglecting duties. The council can burn." His voice was fierce. "I'm staying with my mate. They can exile me if they don't like it." I laughed weakly. "Exile is not that bad. Peaceful. Quiet. Rowan. Sleep now. Talk later." I passed out in his arms. Chapter 5. The Reckoning. I woke 3 days later. The plague marks were gone, burned away by my blood magic. I felt weak, exhausted, but alive. Caius sat beside my bed. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "You stayed?" I said. "I told you I would." He took my hand. "How do you feel?" "Tired, weak, but healing." I looked at him, really looked at him. "You should go. The council came here yesterday. I sent them away. Caius, they were furious, said I was neglecting my duties, said I was putting the kingdom at risk for an exiled Omega." His jaw tightened. "So I abdicated." The world stopped. "You what?" "Abdicated. Stepped down. Named my cousin as regent until I figure out what comes next." He smiled. "Turns out being king isn't worth much if I can't protect the people I love." "That's insane. You can't just—" "I can. I did." He leaned closer. "Rowan, I've spent 3 years regretting the choice I made. 3 years watching you from a distance. 3 years knowing I threw away my mate to keep a crown I never wanted in the first place. But the kingdom will be fine. My cousin is competent. Probably more competent than me." He cupped my face. "But I only get one mate. One chance at this. And I already wasted 3 years being a coward." Tears burned my eyes. "You exiled me. You chose them over me. You. I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life making up for it. If you'll let me. The council will never accept this. They'll come after you. After us. Let them try. His eyes were fierce. I'm done letting them control me. Done choosing politics over people. Done being the king they wanted me to be. He pressed his forehead to mine. I love you, he whispered. I've loved you since the day we met. And I'm sorry I was too afraid to say it. Too afraid to claim you. Too afraid to be what you deserved. Caius, you don't have to forgive me. You don't have to take me back. I'll understand if... I kissed him. Shut him up the only way I knew how. See, when we broke apart, he was staring at me with wonder. Does this mean... It means I'm tired of being angry. Tired of being alone. Tired of pretending the mate bond doesn't exist. I touched his face. You hurt me. Badly. And it's going to take time to trust you again. I'll wait, however long it takes. But, I continued, you just gave up your throne for me. You stayed by my side for 3 days while I healed. You told your council to burn. I smiled slightly. So maybe we can start over. See where this goes. I'd like that. He kissed my hand. What about your price? The 300,000 gold. Keep it. Use it to set up a healing hall in exile lands. For people the royal healers won't treat. You're serious? I never needed the gold. I needed them to acknowledge what I'm worth. Yes, what my skills are worth. I met his eyes. And I got that the moment you knelt at my feet. I'd kneel again. Right now. Every day if that's what you want. What I want, I said quietly, is a partner. Not a king. Not someone who kneels. Just someone who chooses me. Even when it's hard. I choose you. He said it like a vow. Always. From now on. Epilogue. 6 months later. The healing hall opened on the first day of spring. Built on unclaimed lands. Funded by Caius's personal fortune. Open to anyone the royal healers turned away. Omegas with unsuitable conditions. Children with wasteful needs. Elders deemed not worth the expense. We treated them all. Caius worked beside me. Not as a king. As a healer's assistant. Learning the craft. Doing the work. So earning the trust of people who had every reason to hate royalty. The council sent letters. Demanding he return. Demanding he reclaim his throne. Demanding he stop embarrassing the crown. He burned them. Any regrets? I asked one evening. We were cleaning the healing hall after a long day. About giving up the throne? He pulled me close. Not even for a second. You were a king. I was a prisoner, playing a role, saying what they wanted, being who they needed. He kissed my forehead. Now I'm just Caius, your mate, a healer's assistant, someone who actually helps people instead of ruling them. The kingdom is fine. Better, probably. My cousin actually enjoys politics. He smiled. And I get to work with my mate. Save lives. Make a difference without council meetings and protocol and endless compromises. A small Omega child ran up. The same one I'd saved 3 years ago. The one whose life had cost me everything. Rowan, Caius, come see! Mama brought cookies! We followed her. This child who'd lived because I'd refused to let her die. This child who'd cost me my position, my home, my reputation. This child who'd been worth all of it. Caius took my hand. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For being brave when I was a coward, for demanding your worth, for making me kneel before I could stand beside you as an equal. I squeezed his hand. Thank you for finally choosing right. We walked into the healing hall together. No crowns, no thrones, no councils. Just 2 wolves who'd found each other, lost each other, and fought their way back, and a room full of people who were alive because we'd refused to let them be deemed worthless. The council had laughed at my price, but Caius had paid it, not in gold, in everything that mattered.